My stepmother started wearing my dead mother's wedding dress to breakfast and insists it's what she would have wanted. It's been 4 years since I lost my mom to a sudden, aggressive illness. My world, stable and full of her quiet laughter, shattered overnight. I was in my final semester of university, scrambling to finish my thesis, when the call came. I still have nightmares about that hushed hospital corridor. Mom had been the center of our small family, the glue that held everything together. In the aftermath, I learned she had left me our family home in her will. This wasn't just any property. It was a sprawling, slightly rambling old Victorian by the sea that had been in my mother's family for 5 generations. The tradition was matrilineal, from mother to daughter. Passing it to me was her final act of love, a way of tethering me to our history, our roots. My father, Henry, knew this tradition well. Yet, when the will was read, I saw the hurt flash across his face, a raw, unguarded moment of betrayal before he composed himself. He felt sidelined, I think, as if the house, their shared home for 22 years, was a statement that he wasn't truly part of the lineage. Feeling guilty and adrift in my own grief, I told him he could stay. I couldn't bear the thought of uprooting him while he was mourning. I was living in a cramped apartment near campus anyway, finishing my degree. I assumed it would be temporary, a few months for him to find his footing. I was wrong. Within a year, he met Cassandra. He told me about her hesitantly over the phone, calling her a comfort. They'd met at a community art class he'd joined, tried to fill the hours. It felt impossibly soon. The image of my mother's favorite reading chair was still vivid in my mind, the impression of her body seemingly still in the fabric. Now, there was a stranger in the narrative. I bit my tongue. He deserved happiness, didn't he? I buried my discomfort, chalking it up to my own unresolved pain. After graduation, I secured a job as a historical archivist, a perfect fit for someone who valued the past. It allowed me to move back to my coastal hometown and finally into the family home. That's when I met Cassandra in person. My father had spoken of her gentle nature, her artistic soul. What he hadn't prepared me for was her intense, all-consuming fascination with the metaphysical. Cassandra wasn't just interested in astrology or tarot cards as a hobby. She lived in a world of spirits, energies, and signs. She spoke of a childhood in a New England town thick with ghosts, of premonitions that came true, of feeling the vibrations of rooms. I'm a rationalist. I deal in documents, facts, verifiable timelines. Her worldview was alien to me, but I resolved to be respectful. People cope in different ways. But then her focus turned to my mother, Eleanor. At first, it seemed like a clumsy attempt at connection. She'd ask thoughtful questions. What was Eleanor's favorite season in this house? Did she have a special spot where she liked to watch the storms? I'd answer, touched by what I mistook for empathy. Soon, the questions deepened, grew more intimate. What was her biggest fear? Did she ever talk about seeing things out of the corner of her eye? Cassandra would drift through the sunroom, running her fingers over the back of my mom's favorite chaise lounge, and murmur, "Her energy is so strong here. I can almost hear her." It made my skin crawl. I confided in my dad, expecting him to share my unease. He just smiled wistfully. "She's sensitive, Mia. She feels things deeply. It's her way of honoring Eleanor." His dismissal was a small, sharp paper cut. Then came the rituals. Cassandra began setting a fourth place at the dinner table every single night. For my mother, a full setting, china, silverware, a water glass. "It's disrespectful to not include her," she'd say with serene authority. "She's still here in a way. We must acknowledge her." The first time she did it, I froze, my appetite vanishing. I was sitting in my mother's chair in my mother's house, watching a woman I barely knew preside over a seance at our dinner table. My father would just pass the potatoes, acting as if it were the most normal thing in the world. The breaking point for me, the first major one, came when I finally tackled the heartbreaking task of sorting through my mom's wardrobe. The scent of her perfume, a faint whisper of lily of the valley, still clung to the fabrics. I was crying softly, holding a cashmere cardigan to my face, when Cassandra appeared in the doorway. "Oh!" she breathed, her eyes wide. May I have a few pieces? To feel close to her? To honor her memory?" A cold dread pooled in my stomach. "No," I said, my voice firmer than I intended. "I'm sorry, but no. These are personal." She looked genuinely wounded. "But I feel such a connection to her, Mia. It's like she's guiding me. I think she wants me to have them." The rationalization was staggering. I refused again more forcefully. A week later, I saw her coming down the main staircase wearing my mother's emerald green silk blouse, the one Mom had worn for her last birthday dinner. I felt physically ill. "You took it," I whispered, horrified. "From the donate pile," she said, smoothing the fabric. "It called to me. I feel her strength in it." My father, witnessing this, simply said, "It looks nice on you, Cass." Ellie always loved that color. That was the moment I knew something was profoundly broken. I asked my father, point blank, to find a new place with Cassandra. This was my home, left to me, and I needed space to heal without this macabre pantomime. He was aghast. "Mia, this is my home too. The memories I have here with your mother, I can't just leave. And I won't leave you alone in this big old place. We're family." He proposed a compromise. They would pay a generous rent, cover half of all utilities and groceries, and handle most of the upkeep. Weary, grieving, and hoping against hope for a return of the father, I remembered. I relented. It was a catastrophic error in judgment. Cassandra's behavior escalated after she officially moved in. She began to not just wear my mother's clothes, but to study her. She pored over our family albums, not with curiosity, but with the focus of an actor preparing for a role. She started adopting my mother's mannerisms, the way she'd tuck her hair behind her ear, the specific cadence of her laugh. She even began gardening, something my mother adored, but Cassandra had never expressed interest in, using Mom's old tools and kneeling on her weathered cushion. Then she claimed to see her, a woman in gray, walking the upstairs hallway at dusk. She'd tell me with breathless excitement, "She's peaceful. She's watching over us." The gall of it, to invent sightings of my own mother in her own house, to me, her daughter. The final, grotesque straw came on the anniversary of my mother's death. I always visit the Cliffside Cemetery alone. It's my sacred time. This year, my father asked to join me. A flicker of hope ignited. Maybe we could reconnect, mourn together simply and honestly. But of course, Cassandra insisted on coming. "I need to pay my respects," she said. "I feel pulled to her today." When she emerged from her room that morning, I nearly screamed. She was wearing my mother's outfit, the exact one from a photo taken on their 20th wedding anniversary, a tailored cream-colored trouser suit, a pale blue silk scarf, and my mother's distinctive pearl and sapphire brooch. She'd even styled her hair in my mother's signature loose chignon. It was a costume, a sick, elaborate costume. "Take it off," I hissed, my voice trembling with rage. "Take it all off. Now." My father stepped between us. "Mia, please. She's just trying to feel connected. It's a tribute." "A tribute? She's dressing up like a dead woman for a day at the cemetery. Are you insane?" He flinched but didn't yield. The car ride was a silent, frigid torture. At the graveside, my grief was a suffocating blanket, made heavier by the grotesque parody standing beside me. Just as I knelt to place the white roses I brought, I heard a rustle. Cassandra was unpacking a large tapestry bag. Out came black candles, a bundle of sage, a small bowl, and a polished wooden Ouija board planchette. She began placing the candles in a circle around my mother's headstone. "What are you doing?" My voice was dangerously calm. "Today is a day of thin veils," she said, not looking up. "The energy here is potent. We can speak to her. We can ask her what she wants for us." Something in me snapped. The careful archive of my patience, my tolerance, my forced politeness burst into flames. "Get away from her grave," I said, standing. "Get that garbage away from my mother. Right now." "Mia, don't be closed-minded," my father pleaded. "She's just trying to help us all find peace." Peace? This is a spectacle. This is her making my mother's death about her psychic fan fiction. How can you not see that? Cassandra looked up, her eyes wide with faux pious hurt. "Eleanor's spirit is restless. I'm the only one who can sense it. She wants to communicate. She told me in a dream last night. That was it. The blatant narcissistic lie. She told you? You, who never met her. You, who is stealing her clothes and copying her hair. You're not sensitive, Cassandra. You're obsessed. You're sick. And you." I turned to my father, my heart breaking anew. "You are so desperate not to be alone that you're letting this woman violate my mother's memory and terrorize your own daughter. You're enabling a delusion." His face hardened. "That's enough. Apologize to Cassandra." Apologize? She's wearing Mom's clothes at her graveside and playing with a Ouija board. No. Then we're leaving. He took Cassandra's arm. She hastily gathered her props, shooting me a look of wounded triumph. They walked back to the car without a backward glance. I was left alone, shaking, the salt wind whipping my hair, the echo of my outburst ringing in the silence. They drove off. I had to call a taxi to get home. The silence in the house that followed was worse than any argument. I stopped speaking to them entirely. They moved through the halls like ghosts themselves, and I confined myself to the West Wing, my mother's old study. My father left notes under my door. "She's crying. You were too harsh. We're a family. We need to work this out. Your mother would want us to be kind." That last one was the final twist of the knife. He was now using my mother's imagined will to police my grief. I realized then that the house, my sanctuary, had become a prison of their shared pathology. I couldn't heal here. I couldn't breathe. I consulted a lawyer. The deed was indisputably mine. I had been charitable, allowing them to stay for a nominal rent, but they were legally tenants at will. I drafted a formal legal 30-day notice to vacate. My hand shook as I signed it, but my resolve was steel. I served it to them at dinner. Cassandra was, predictably, wearing one of my mother's linen dresses. "This is for you," I said, placing the envelope next to my father's plate. He read it. His face went from confusion to shock to crimson rage. "You're evicting us? Your own father? This is my house. Legally, morally, in every way, I have given you years of leeway. I have tolerated the intolerable. No more. You have 30 days to find a new place." Cassandra let out a small, theatrical gasp. "Mia, you can't. The energy, the spiritual balance of this house is tied to me now, to us. If you sever that bond, you'll unleash such negativity. You'll regret it." Her voice dropped to a melodramatic whisper. I feel a warning in the air. Don't do this. I looked her dead in the eye. "Are you threatening to curse me, Cassandra?" She held my gaze. "I'm warning you of the natural consequences of such a violent, hateful action." I actually laughed, a dry, brittle sound, then let the curses rain down. "Pack your bags and leave my mother's clothes behind. Every single stitch." The following weeks were a cold war. My father oscillated between furious silence and guilt-tripping monologues about family duty. Cassandra moved to the house like a martyred saint, sighing loudly and burning foul-smelling incense for cleansing. She left little charm bags of herbs and crystals tied with black thread on my bedroom doorstep. I threw everyone in the trash. On the morning of the 30th day, a moving van arrived. I watched from the study window as they loaded their belongings. They had found a modern apartment in town. My father looked old and defeated. For a moment, a tidal wave of guilt and sorrow threatened to drown me. He was my father. We had loved the same woman. But he had chosen to walk a path with Cassandra that I could not and would not follow. He had allowed the line between memory and mania to be erased, and in doing so, had erased our chance to grieve together. He came to the door before leaving. Cassandra waited in the car, staring straight ahead, wearing large sunglasses. "I don't understand you," he said, his voice thick. "I know you don't. That's the tragedy. Goodbye, Dad." He opened his mouth, then closed it. He turned and walked away. I watched the van disappear down the long, winding drive toward the sea road. The silence that settled over the house after they left was different. It was no longer oppressive, but deep and clean, like the quiet after storm. I walked from room to room. I took Cassandra's hideous incense holders and threw them out. I opened all the windows, letting the brisk, salty air sweep through, scouring the rooms of her presence. I went to my mother's closet. The remaining clothes still hung there. I didn't feel the sharp grief I once had. Instead, I felt a quiet connection. I took out the emerald green blouse, the one Cassandra had stolen. I held it, then I put it on. It smelled only of cedar and sea air now. I stood in front of my mother's full-length mirror. I saw my own face, my own eyes, my mother's eyes, looking back. Not a ghost, not a channeled spirit. Just me, her daughter, the heir to this old house and its long, complicated story. I was finally home.